around me, so my enemies cannot
Now.
harm me.
There you go, there you go, there you go.
Oh, Lord, I'm in your hand. I feel alright.
I think it's safe to say that in one film you've done something that I don't know has ever been done before, which is you got like the greatest performance by hands I've ever seen. So how do you direct hands?
You know, for me, it's not about calling attention to the hands. It's about I want a full body experience, you know? And so it's getting at the emotionality and trusting. I trust the ways the body communicates, you know? And I, of course, trust the actors to be in their body. And I try not to call attention to the fact that I'm on the hands and trust how their body naturally, you know, wants to hold something or let something go or express itself.
At what point in the process, I'm curious, did you arrive? Was it conversations with Jomo, your DP, who I think did beautiful work on this film, that you knew you were going to focus close up on certain body parts that you found very expressive in that way?
I love eyes, but hands are right up there for me. So I knew that going in that there would be a lot of hands, a lot of details. I knew that. And so it was a mix, but it was a discovery on set just how much space the hands wanted to take up, you know, and how that's another layer, these slant rhymes in the film of speaking to these characters and the relationships and the changes that they go through.
What's that process of writing like when so much of the storytelling in the eventual film, I imagine, didn't necessarily live on the page initially? How are you like preparing to tell a story with all these other tools?
Yeah, you know, Mississippi is in the log line, but I never say in the film, and this is Mississippi, you know what I mean? Right. I really wanted to get at place through a feeling rather than concretely stating it, being very intentional with, you know, details of the time, with costume design. I looked a lot at my grandma's photo albums, being very intentional with the details to, again, speak to the time period and place without needing to announce it.
What were those conversations like with your key collaborators as you're first sort of bringing them into this thing that is so personal to you?
It's a fiction film, but it's very close. You know, it's like there's a lot of emotional truths and details in it. And with the conversations, it was seeing, you know, do we have a similar sensibility, I would say. I think the biggest part was just, are we speaking the same language? You know what I mean? As far as what this film is going to be and making sure you're making the same film.
Right. Yeah.
And once that's established, it's the trust of, ooh, I'm curious what you're going to come back with.
I was also curious about clay dirt and eating it and your own family connection to that, and why, of the many traditions I imagine that were passed down, that felt like one that you really wanted to, in a way, build this film around.
The title of the film comes from a conversation I had with my grandma around the practice of eating clay dirt, and I actually wrote a poem first with that title that has nothing to do with the film, years before I even knew I would come to this film. And believe it or not, the film didn't, even with that title, didn't always have the clay dirt eating in it.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah. It was something I came to, like it felt like the film wanted that title, but I, from the beginning, like I had the title before I had written a page. I knew that was the title. But adding the thread came later in the process. And once I added that there, I was like, ooh, this ties everything together for me. And so the closeness to the earth, the rain is often after rain when the earth smells so rich that those who practice eating clay dirt eat it. And I didn't grow up eating clay dirt. My mother did, though, and my grandma did. You know, it was passed down. And so it felt like I have eaten it now. It's, you know, it's a snack, and it tastes good to me. But it's different because I got it online. It's different. My aunt makes fun of me. She's like, you don't know what it tastes like. But it felt, in a film that deals so much with tradition and what's passed down from generation to generation, it felt, and again, these characters are so close to nature, it felt like a detail that speaks to it all, which that's what really inspired me to add it.
Right, right. One of the moments that feels just really memorable to me in this is the hug. There's such a beautiful arc in that hug. I wonder about just if you can talk about the process of like writing that and developing it, and whether things that came out on the day that weren't what you expected, because it feels like such a big moment in the film. and it unfolds. It keeps kind of unfolding in ways that are just really draw you in.
So we shot that. That was the second to last day of shooting. Intentionally so. I wanted it to be scheduled later so they had, a history to pull from as people. But it was a discovery in being present to see it's not gonna, these people have a rich history, haven't seen each other for a long time. They're not gonna hug for 15 seconds, they're not gonna hug for a minute. You know what I mean? And so it was telling Reggie in some moments, just a little longer, just a little longer. She smells the same, and allowing room for that. And I like to create a bubble when I'm working with the actors as much as possible, know, and just like giving them the space to just go deeper and deeper with each take. And they really went there, and it was really, that's one of my favorite days on set.
Just one thing about that, the bubble. What is the bubble? Is it just you and Jomo Frey, your DP, and them, and like you just said, you were kind of whispering to them, directing them in that way? What's that? Yeah, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I don't like a lot of people around when I'm directing or around the actors. We're trying to often go to vulnerable places, and I don't like. And also for me, I just don't like a lot of noise or distractions in that way. And so for that scene, it was, trying to have people, at Video Village as much as possible, even though some folks go by the AC monitor, but it's like as much as possible. And luckily with the grocery store, there was like a place right off to the side that the actors wouldn't be able to see anything. So it really did feel like just me, the actors, and Jomo, know? To again allow more space to go to these deep emotional places the scene is asking for. And so and then it's me going to them, pulling them to the side and having a conversation with them, and not always a conversation. Maybe it's just me saying one thing, you know what I mean?
One thing that unlocks something.
But doing it to the side.
You talked about this a little bit earlier, but on a film with a limited budget, sometimes one of the first things to go is that great minutia and all the detail. What was that process like on set when that's so critical to this film? The butterfly wings clapping together, the bird song, and that's going to be a really important part of your storytelling. How did you fight to maintain those things in this film?
We talked a lot about how, it's not B-roll, we need, we need these shots, these textural shots, these world shots are right up there with the other shots. And luckily, I'm not someone who does a lot of takes, because it's all about time, and I'm not someone who does a lot of takes, so we're able to, and having Maria there who understood how I like to work was helpful in that regard. But it was very important from jump, I think, to make it clear that the film needs these things. These aren't just if we can get it. It's no, we're making time.
Building that into the schedule, making sure that scene is essential.
Right.
Is there something for you that feels especially important you want people to take away from this film that feels critical? I think I've heard you say you want it to wash over people. Why that specifically?
I feel this film is an experience in a lot of ways, and that's what I'm aiming for it to wash over folks, and hopefully there's room for, even this is a very specific film, intentionally so, but within the specifics for folks to be able to bring their full selves to it, And a question I asked in the making of it was, if our lives were to flood, what are those moments that would rise to the surface? And how would they swim between each other? How would they speak to each other, And that washing, if the film washing over the audience, washing over a person feels like, a fluid experience of a life, and which speaks to what I'm trying to get at. And so that's why I really hope folks allow it to be an experience.
Last thing I want to ask you, for a movie that deals with family so beautifully in multiple generations. How has your family felt about this film? This must be really special for them to see it come out and just be received the way it has been. So what's that been like for them?
Yeah, it's been beautiful. They love the film, but what else are they going to tell me? And they came to the New York Film Festival premiere, and my mom had like a photograph from the Sundance Step and Repeat on her shirt, and so it was really cute.
Oh, wow.
They are proud, and it was. I'm really. My dad actually, he recommended the "If I Were Your Woman," the Gladys Knight and the Pips song for the dance scene, and so it's. I know they see them, and it's my dad's tackle and the fishing scene, so I know they see.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's like family photo albums on some of the family photographs from albums and some of the scenes. So I know they see it within, again, it's a fiction film, but in some of the details they see themselves, which I'm grateful for. And I know that adds to like their experience of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making such a beautiful, brave film. And thank you guys for coming to see it.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you all.